All right.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Peculiar Happenings. I'm Shelby,
And I'm Lee.
and I'm waiting for this to catch up so I can make sure we're actually doing this right. Yep, there are voices. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
See,
I can
we do
hear
it every time. We
I
got
know.
it. We got it.
Just to make sure, I can actually hear your voice through the headphones for once.
Really?
Yes, this is the second time this has happened. The first time was one of the episodes back in last semester. I think it was October. I think it was like the second episode. And I remember it because I also, again, made specific mention because I was like, oh my gosh, Lee, I can hear your voice this time.
Interesting, because I can't hear yours.
You can't.
No.
Oh, that's really upsetting. I don't know what's going on with these headphones. Last time there was nothing coming through either of them, so it was like we were just wearing them for fun.
Oh yeah.
Just for the vibe.
Just for the vibes.
Just for
It's
the
okay.
vibe,
That's
yeah.
kind of what we do. That's all right.
Anyway, we're running a little late today because I had to finish for a record that I was cleaning to finish drying.
And I was in bed.
And Lee was taking a little nap.
I
Taking a
was.
little nap. Because I texted them, I was like, hey, what was it? What did I even say? I was like, I'm at the radio station waiting for this record to dry. We might have to
Yeah.
start like a little later.
Yeah.
And
then
you're
I was like,
oh no, I forgot.
So I ran here.
Well, you made it in time.
I
You made it
did.
in plenty of time.
I
We
did.
started like only a couple minutes later.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's works out because the episode we have today is probably a bit of a shorter one.
Yeah.
Probably a bit of a shorter one. So what is today's episode, Lee?
Today's episode is focused on our favorite adults of Stranger Things.
The favorite adult characters.
Our favorite adult characters.
There's a lot to work with.
Things about them, because they're
Mhm.
so cool. And we
Yeah.
love them so much.
I'll give you the choice, mostly because you have the notes in front of you. Who do you want to
too. They're in the
with?
middle. You goober.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. I don't have good depth perception, so it looks closer to it's.
Happens.
Anyway,
It's
Who
okay.
do you want to start with? And
I feel like someone.
Hmm.
There's two people I have in mind right
Okay.
now that we met in season 1
Mhm.
that are both very important characters.
Oh, I think I know who you might be talking about.
If I give you the two names, do you want to pick between who we start with?
Sure.
Okay, so Joyce and Hopper.
That is exactly what I was thinking of. Let's start with Joyce. I love Joyce.
Joyce,
I love
okay.
Winona
That's
Ryder.
valid. I think we get to see her before we get to see Hopper anyways.
Yes.
You know, because she
Yes.
wakes up and asks where Will is, and then Jonathan's like, I was working last night, and then
Mhm.
she gets mad at him for working. All the things.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't Hopper appear at the beginning of season 2? No, sorry, not season 2, episode 2. Episode 2, it opens with him and him, like, investigating. Or, I don't remember.
I can't remember.
This is so random. This is
What?
completely off topic. I remembered, I had a dream about you last night.
Oh my
You
gosh.
were in my dreams.
That's
I had
crazy.
a dream. I went to your house for, like, a break.
Oh,
And
that's interesting.
so
I mean,
your-
you can if you want to.
Your roommate, Gab, was driving us. In
Interesting.
I think it was Bree's car for some reason, and there were children in the backseat. I don't know whose children they were. I was like, hey, whose kids are these? And Gab was like, they just live here. And I'm like, okay.
They just live here.
They just stay in the car. So we get going and we get driving, and Gab drops us off to the station. I'm
Mhm.
like, all right, so how long is this gonna be? Because we're on a bus or a train or something
Yeah.
to go to where you live. And you're like, oh, it's like 6 hours. And I was like, I didn't know that. Is it too late to back out? And the train had already left. And then we get to your house, and the only thing I remember is like doing dishes that were in the sink. Because I was like, oh, I'm
Interesting.
staying here. I might as well help out, which I would do. I would do that.
That's
too.
so weird.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because to take the train or the bus to my house is
Mhm.
actually 10 hours.
It's 10 hours?
So, yeah,
Oh,
it's 5
man.
hours by car, but with the stops that the trains and the
It
buses
doubles
have
it.
to make, it doubles it.
Mm.
So, it's a 10-hour day for me.
I was kind of close.
Yeah?
I had 10 hours. I was kind of close. Anyway, let's get back on track. I just remember that. I was going to text you about it earlier today, but then I got distracted and forgot.
Happens. That's so me. I do that all the time. We were just talking about that
We were
over
just
text.
talking about
so
this.
we're both I feel like I'm very forgetful and I'm very like
Mm-hmm.
spacey sometimes. Like I'm sitting in my bed looking at Pinterest. Shelby texts me, oh no, the podcast.
The podcast.
podcast.
I can't tell sometimes if it's easier or harder to remember now that we're doing like 5.
It's ingrained in my mind that we're
Instead
from
of, like,
7 to 8.
Yeah, instead of 7 to 8 on. It was
I
Thursdays
think that's what it
last
is.
time too,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Yeah.
I think that's what it is because my brain is like, it's Friday, I'm done for the day.
Yeah.
And then-
Joke's on you.
It's like, oh no, I have this, which is something I look forward to.
Mhm.
But like on the day, I forget. My brain
Yeah.
just turns off.
We get a little silly with it. We get a little silly.
Yeah.
Anyway, back
We
to
do.
Joyce.
Joyce Byers.
Exactly. She's such a fascinating character. There's nothing I
Mhm.
love more than like the character that's sort of like, she's crazy. She's a conspiracy theorist who is just right on the money every single time.
Every time.
Season 1, she was right. Season 2, Season 3, she was right. There still was something wrong with Will.
Yep.
Season 4, she was like calling up Murray, like, Hopper's still alive. And Murray's like, no, Joyce, you need to let him go. She was right.
She was
Never
right.
doubt Joyce. You think they'd have learned to stop doubting her after like the second or third time.
Exactly. I love her character development specifically
Mhm.
because she starts out like that, crazy paranoid mother.
Yeah,
'cause
like
her kid is,
frazzled.
her kid's gone missing and is most likely dead. He's been gone for a week or so. Everyone's just like, wow, she's, going hysterical because her son died. But
Because
it's not at all.
Because I mean, honestly, from an outside perspective, okay, this lady's kid goes missing, and then she starts saying that he's still here, and she can communicate with him through the Christmas lights.
Yeah. How
And
many times has something like that
I'm
actually
like,
happened?
Me personally, if someone was saying that, I'd be like, okay.
Have you eaten today, sweetie?
I'd be like,
is what I'd be
okay.
saying. Can
Maybe
I
it's
get you
time to
something?
talk to someone. Because objectively, wild thing to say.
Objectively, yes.
Wild, crazy, insane thing to say.
But for Joyce, it's not.
Yeah.
For Joyce, it makes sense.
I just realized, is that switch normally up there? I don't know. I don't touch this part of the board. I'm not gonna touch it. It's probably fine.
Yeah, I have no idea.
We got a recording going. We're broadcasting. Everything is fine.
Oh
Sorry,
yeah,
I got
it
distracted.
goes to the prod A.
Okay,
maybe, which
there
is
we
up
go.
there.
Sorry, I just got distracted because I looked down and I was like, "Ooh,
Yeah,
this happened
and
another time because I
Frosty
saw
was
the
in
blinking
there.
light and I was like, what's that?
Yeah, and
Is that
Frosty
supposed to be
was in
doing
there.
that? Ooh,
Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? Anyway,
Joyce, she's slaying.
she's so smart. She's so smart.
She's
People
so
don't give her
smart.
enough credit for that.
I know, and I think it's too because she's a mother in the '80s, and
She's got that intuition.
She's got that intuition, but she doesn't have an education. She's very lower class, middle, like lower
Working
side.
class. She's working class.
Yeah, she's
That's
working
what the
class.
buyers is.
Yeah,
Buyers are.
and no one's gonna look at her as a woman in that scenario who's a single mother and be like, oh, what you have to say is valid. And I know that's terrible to say, but that's the reality.
No. Yeah, and I mean that still happens. Still happens.
Keep talking.
Oh, is your phone ringing? Is that what that sound is?
You can keep talking.
Okay. Okay.
You're good.
Sorry, there's just a moment of silence because we both heard this buzzing sound. And I was like, what is that?
We're so out of it today. I'm so sorry.
Oh
I feel
my
like it's me.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think it's just there's a bunch of crazy stuff going on right now. It's busy. Everyone at the radio station, like as we were coming in, we're leaving for the Rock and Skate event, which starts in like 2 hours. Which, hey, if you're listening and you can go to it, you should go to it.
You should.
That sounds kind of fun.
You definitely should.
Sounds like a blast. It's 80s themed. Right up my alley.
Oh
Fantastic.
yeah.
But you're right. She's such a smart character, but because of the circumstance she's in, she's gonna get discredited for that. People aren't gonna believe her. People are gonna think, oh, the grief has driven her insane. Her son is dead, and she can't accept it.
Exactly.
And it's only when other people start to experience really strange things too. Everyone else is like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hold on. She's been right the whole time.
Which is one of my favorite parts of the show. Not about her, but just the fact that everyone discovers things on their own time. And so you have all these other stories going on. And I love the fact that by the end of every season, they come together. Oh, it's just so satisfying to me.
It's really well written.
And they all play a part in it. And Joyce was one of those parts, especially in season 1, because she was more on her own. Well, she had Hopper, but her and Hopper still hadn't, like, that group of adults hadn't arrived yet. It was
formed.
Yeah.
We had the players; they were present in the game, but they hadn't like formed the teams yet. The teams that we're all now familiar with.
Yeah. Exactly. I love Joyce. She definitely gives off the same vibes, as her character in Beetlejuice, which I haven't seen all the way through, but I've seen things. In like a sense, like I feel like she gives off like
Lydia
the same
vibes.
Yeah, like that is her.
The sort of like hard as nails personality. Because now I do like it. I think there is a sort of implication that Joyce sort of had like a bit of a rowdy past, or was a bit of a rowdy teenager. Because there's the one scene in season 2 where they're outside the snowball. It's Joyce and Hopper. And they're like sharing a cigarette, and they're like, "Oh, do you remember when we did this?" And the one teacher would always get so mad at us or something, or because we were skipping this one teacher's class.
Yeah, I love that flesh out of their story.
It's so fun.
It's great because before we don't get to see any of that, and then it's the hints of, oh wow, they really both did grow up in Hawkins and have been here their whole lives.
Yep.
And like that's really interesting, and which also is more significant for when Joyce does decide to leave. That's a really big thing if she's been there her entire life with her kids. Her kids grew up there. She grew up there.
Yep.
Her connections are there.
Which I was gonna say maybe part of the reason she decided to leave was because Hopper wasn't there anymore. She didn't. That was one less connection keeping her there.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it makes sense though. Because at that point, why would you want to stay in the town where your son went missing. Some weird stuff has been happening consistently for like the past 3 years. None of you have known like a moment of peace.
So many people have died, and your son
People
was
have
almost
died,
one of
people
those
have gone
people.
missing, and
Yeah.
the guy that you maybe kind of like tucks hair behind ear. I have to say that because no one
Gets
can
all
see it
blushy.
except Lee. And maybe and then the fact that the guy you maybe kind of like presumed dead,
Yeah.
missing, presumed dead,
And she
wasn't dead.
watched
We
it
all
happen.
knew
That's so traumatic.
I know, right?
Oh,
I
that
feel
scene.
like
That scene had me
yeah.
bawling.
Season 3, I feel like in many ways was kind of cartoonish, but that's what I like
Mhm.
about it. It was
Yeah.
it was like the cartoonishly evil Russians.
Oh yeah.
They were like cartoon villains. I was waiting for like an anvil to drop on someone's head because it was just
The
the
bright
whole
colors.
premise was kind of absurd, but also I loved it. Also, it was great.
Exactly.
So,
the bright colors underneath of the mall, the
new
secret
wave
codes.
aesthetic,
So good.
beautiful.
So good. Joyce slayed that season too. Looked so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I love her. I love her.
I'm trying to think what else can we say about Joyce? This isn't something about the show, but I forget which one of my parents always says. It was either my mom or my dad, but they always say it'd be really funny if, because the show is last we saw it, 1986 was the year, so plausibly at some point they're going to be in the year where Beetlejuice comes out. And I think it was either my dad or my mom said it would be funny if someone like saw if there was a poster of Beetlejuice in the background, and someone was like, "Hey, Mom, you look exactly like that young girl," or something. And she's like, "Oh, I don't see the resemblance."
I don't see it.
And also, just Winona Ryder being in the '80s TV show when she was like a star of the '80s is fantastic.
Great.
She's
great.
also in Heathers, which I haven't seen, but I've heard is very good.
I have heard it's really good.
Very good. Beetlejuice, of course, and I'm sure there's more movies, but I don't have anything else other than that. That's all I got.
On the top of my head, yeah.
That's all I got. Yeah, that's as far as my particular branch of 80s movie knowledge goes. But yeah. And just I saw someone say that in the 4th season you can see Elle sort of dressing more like Joyce.
The bangs,
the longer hair, the t-shirts with like the flannels over the top.
She really is. I think that's a big part of Eleven's character is she copies all of the adult figures in her life because that's all she knows.
Yep. Oh, because she has a distinct style based off of the adult figures in every season.
Yeah, exactly. Except for season 3, for part of season 3, she is more of like Max, very 80s. Yes. The closest, like you said, the closest we ever see her to being herself.
Because you know what? You made a very good point. You can sort of trace Elle's style through her clothing. And this isn't related to Joyce, but because in season 1, she goes from like, the lab coat to the t-shirt that Benny gave her to the clothes that Mike gave her. Season 2, she starts off in Hopper's clothes, like flannels that are way too big. Then Callie, is that her name?
Yeah.
Callie gives her the sort of grunge makeover, which honestly, okay, I loved. I think we need more of that. We need more of that sort of grunge punk look. Season 3, I have to agree with what you say. When Max was like, "Hey, you should try on things you like. We can buy things you like." I think that might be the closest we've seen to her true style.
Yeah.
Because like you said, every other season it's just like, oh, old clothes of Hopper, or maybe some old clothes of Joyce, or she's at least modeling herself after Joyce.
That's my favorite era of Elle. I really think that is my favorite era. Just because she's more, she is more herself. She's more independent. She
breaks
confident.
away from Mike.
She does.
She's free of the codependency for once.
Yeah, and from the start, I was not a Malevolent shipper. From the start, I didn't see it. It felt very much like this is the first person I ever saw. So now I'm in love with them.
Which I think is absolutely supposed to be kind of the point. That's kind of why they're experiencing difficulties. I think there's something to be said about the trauma bonding aspect. Yeah. And Elle, Mike was one of the first people that she met that was her age that like treated her with, the basic levels of human kindness and decency. So there's definitely that to be said as an agent.
Yeah. But I do like her development. I like her development with the other characters as well. Like there was this one very underrated photo that I just saw. Sorry, this is off topic, but we'll get back to it in a second. It was a photo of Lucas and Elle hugging at the end of season 4. And someone said that this is so underrated, you don't realize how important this is. And it made me realize that back in season 1, Lucas didn't want anything to do with 11. He didn't want her in the party. He did not want her there or related to it at all because he knew, he was like, we need to focus on Will right now. And this random girl has no connection. He obviously had no idea. Yeah. But he also, I think, was rightfully so nervous about the consequences of getting involved with her. But the fact that at the end of it, they could both kind of come together. I mean, they have hugged before, like season 2 when she gets back, and they were friends. But to see that specifically and the way that they both showed their expression, so like in the photo, it had me. I was pretty like, wow, I like that.
That is nice. That is nice because I'm like you said, Lucas didn't want her in the party originally, and then in season 2, Mike sort of swaps and takes the place as someone who's like, no, we can't have Max in the party.
Yeah,
We can't have Max in the party.
here it is.
Which, okay, I understand that you're still upset over losing Elle, but aw. Yeah, that is a nice photo. That is a nice photo. But I was going to say, I understand. Okay, Mike, I understood you're upset about losing Elle, but not every person who just happens to be a girl is a replacement for Elle. Like, calm down. Calm down, sir.
Mm-mm.
Calm down.
I think it's just because they had never before really interacted with a girl that way, other than his
Yeah.
sister Nancy.
Yeah.
Because he's just a little guy. He's got his friends.
They're
you know?
still in the middle school, ew, cuties phase.
Yes,
or whatever.
exactly. And then Mike was the first one to kind of get out of that with Elle.
Yeah. Although I think there needs to be balance. I still feel so bad in season 3 when they're all worried about relationship stuff, and Will's just like, guys, can we play D&D?
Guys, can we play
I'm
D&D?
sorry, if that was me and my party, it would not have. I'm marching over to their houses. I'm like dragging them out by the arm and saying, we're playing D&D. This
playing
can
D&D.
wait.
This
I did
was
not
scheduled.
spend several weeks trying to find times when we were all free writing all this out, only for you to be like, oh no, I'm sorry, I can't.
I have
My
a girlfriend now.
My girlfriend. No, I don't care. It's D&D time. Get over here.
This is our time,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing interferes with our time.
You need a healthy balance of both friendship and relationship time in your life. We're
Exactly.
playing D&D.
Exactly, and that's what I really want to see, and that's I think why I don't like Elle and Max. No,
Whoa.
Elle and Mike. Whoa, guys.
Whoa, that's something different.
That is something different. I think that's why I didn't like them
Mhm.
though, because there wasn't a good balance,
Mhm.
and it bothered me. And it's funny. I was gonna
It's
say it,
funny?
but then I realized that maybe I shouldn't say it. But I
Oh.
realized she's also probably not listening, so it's fine.
What were you gonna say?
Well, it's just I have this friend
Uh-huh.
in high school and we
Mhm.
watched it together. She loved their relationship, and there's nothing
Oh.
against that at all.
No.
But it's funny because now that she has a boyfriend, she's exactly like that. Where
Ooh,
the friendship balance doesn't feel balanced out. Like that is her
that's
life.
tough. That's tough. No, I don't think that's healthy in any context.
Mm-mm.
I don't think, and I know that it might seem like a strange thing to say because basically every piece of media you've seen in your life will tell you no, that's not true. But I don't think it's healthy to prioritize romantic relationships over everything else.
Exactly.
I think
exactly.
me personally, same level as friendship. My friends are just as important to me as if
Yeah.
I was in a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
And I
There's
think
nothing
That's-
wrong.
That seems healthy to me. That
Yeah.
seems a lot healthier to me than be like, oh, my life can't be complete unless I find this one perfect person that probably doesn't exist.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with liking someone and being in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship, but I think it was your friend Sawyer. I was talking with him one time because I know him, but
Mhm.
like acquaintance style
Mhm.
know him, and we were talking one time because I went driving with him because we were trying to find a place to go hiking, but then we didn't end up
Mm-hmm.
like finding one.
Mm-hmm.
But we were talking. And we were talking about how we hate the idea that you need to find someone to complete you like a puzzle piece.
Yep.
He said that he likes the idea of you are your complete own puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to find another puzzle that complements your puzzle.
Exactly. And I think that's a really good way of
And I
thinking about it.
and I like
think
that.
that's
And
a
I
very
feel
good way
like,
of thinking about it.
both Mike and 11 need to find that.
Yeah. Which I understand why it's so prevalent. Basically, every movie you say it's like, oh, you're not complete unless you find this one person, your soulmate. And it's just like, why have we been saying that for so long? It doesn't seem very good or healthy.
Not healthy, no.
Okay, we've gotten very off track. Okay.
Real. But we
Is there-
can loop it back by
we
saying
can loop it back.
Joyce and Hopper
Joyce and
complement
Hopper.
each other.
Joyce
They
and
don't
Hopper,
complete
they
each other, they
complement each other.
complement each other.
They have separate lives
They
that
do.
tend to overlap because there's a lot of strange stuff going on in
Mhm.
Hawkins. Who else could we talk about? We could talk about Joyce and Bob.
Joyce and Bob.
Rest in power.
Rest
King.
in power to a real one. I liked them, but I knew
Mhm.
they weren't going to be Endgame. I feel like
I feel like yeah.
if he hadn't died, then maybe I wouldn't have seen it, but I had this feeling.
Mhm.
I had this feeling. I had also heard a spoiler, but I had
was-
a feeling.
it was-
I
so I
previously-
knew what happened,
but I had
but
a
I
feeling.
had the slightest feeling. No.
I thought that maybe something
Yeah.
would happen. Definitely not a little birdie whispering in my
Yeah,
ear.
No, but I was gonna say, I don't know. I liked them. I really liked them. Bob was so sweet. He was
He
such
was
a chill
so
guy. He was doing his best to help with Will too.
I know. He tried so
It,
hard.
it really was for the first 3 seasons. It really was the curse of the bees. The curse
Oh
of the
my
bee
gosh.
names. Yeah, Barb.
I forgot about
Bob,
this. I know we've talked about it, but I
Billy.
forgot about it.
Mm-hmm. And then season 4, there's probably someone with a bee name that died because a lot of people died
Billy.
in season 4. No, Billy
No.
was season 3. Remember
Sorry.
the confrontation with the mall?
Yeah.
He like
Wow.
sort of sacrifices himself.
I
try
went
and
to
save
say
Matt.
Eddie, but then Billy came
Betty.
out, and then I was like, Eddie doesn't start with a
No,
B. Why'd I say
no.
Billy? And my brain buffered.
There's Eddie. There's Christy. It's all like alphabet names. It's BC.
There was the
D.
one other friend of the basketball player also died, but I don't
Mhm.
remember his name.
Yeah, I don't remember his name either. Honestly.
What was the one?
I
What
know
was the
there's-
boyfriend's name?
Was it Jason?
Oh,
Jason. Ugh.
that's a terrible name.
Jason.
Respectfully, like if your
Ugh.
name is Jason, you're a good person. I'm sorry.
No, if your name is Jason, you're a terrible person and you need to
Yeah,
change it
agreed.
immediately. See, and
Agreed.
now we have a balanced scale of opinions.
Exactly.
No, that was
There we
terrible.
go.
Okay. Let's since we were just talking about Joyce, let's move on to Hopper.
Hopper. What a
Hopper
guy.
is such a tragic character,
His story.
and upon rewatching some of the what did we rewatch? We watched season 2 recently.
Yes.
Where there's some of the flashbacks where it's like his daughter in
Mhm.
the hospital. I did not know Hawkins Labs is where she was treated. She was treated
Really?
in Hawkins Labs. Yeah.
She
Because there's shots
was?
of him in like the exact same staircase that you see in season 2 when Bob is like trying to navigate.
Oh
through,
my gosh.
which opens up a whole thing for so many conspiracy theories.
And she lost her hair. Hear me out.
Okay.
I know it was
So-
cancer, but hear me out.
It was working. The cancer was working for Hawkins Labs. No, because for a little bit I did have the theory. I was like, what if she didn't actually die and they faked her death so that they could like take her in the lab because she had these powers, which would be wild. But I
Whoa.
think it is unless it's gonna be like the Deus Ex Machina. No, that's the wrong phrase. Unless it's gonna be like the Chekhov's gun of all time
Yeah.
in season 5. I don't think that's what happened. I think she's probably just dead.
There would be a hard way to loop it back in, I think.
Yeah.
But I do like the story. I don't like the story because it's sad, obviously. But I
it would
think
make for an interesting theory.
yeah, and I think his overall past story was really
Mhm.
important to see why his character is the way he is.
Yeah.
And I mean, we first get introduced to the idea of the fact that his daughter died in season 1, but we
Mhm.
don't see how she did or how
Yeah.
much it had affected him. Obviously, you know it affected him, but you didn't really see that
Yeah.
until season 2.
Exactly. And I think, sorry, were you going to say more?
No.
Okay. I just want to make sure. And I think you can kind of see how much it affected him from his very first appearance. Because it's like he wakes up on the couch. He's like surrounded by beer cans.
Yeah.
Doesn't he like
Takes a
crack another
cigarette.
one open, goes onto the porch, smokes a cigarette? Breakfast of Champions in the 80s, I guess.
He takes pills with a new
Yeah.
can of beer.
Yeah.
Just absolutely crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes into work. I liked his
The secretary.
the secretary.
takes like the donut out of his hand and puts an apple in.
Yeah,
I like
she's
that.
trying
That's
to
funny.
take care of him, and he goes,
That's
"Morning is
really
for
funny.
coffee and contemplation." It's my
Mhm.
favorite line. I said that to someone. They're like, "That's really funny," and I was like,
I came up with it myself.
"I definitely
Completely.
did." I was like, "Have you not seen Stranger Things?"
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's such like a niche line to know, and unless you're very few that would be able to hyperfixate
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah, I would say the same thing, honestly. But yeah, I feel like they have such an interesting contrast, Hopper and Joyce.
They do.
Because Joyce, like you said, is like the stressed single mom trying to take care of like her teenage son and her
Mhm.
younger son, and he goes missing, and that's freaky. And then they find him, but weird stuff is still going on. And then you've got Hopper, who used to be a parent, isn't anymore. You get the feeling he's kind of hit a dead end in his life.
Very depressed.
He's very, yes, I would say very depressed, sort of stuck in a rut, stuck in the same old daily routine. And as bad as it is, the whole thing with Will and Hawkins' lab is probably what broke him out of that.
Yeah,
Because it was something new, it was something interesting, it was something that he cared about and got invested in.
it gave him
Which
a
is-
purpose again.
Yes, he needed a purpose, he needed motivation, and it just happened to present that.
Yeah.
And it just works out so nicely that the thing that like gave him purpose again is the same thing that kind of ties him to Joyce.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see that develop through the seasons.
Definitely. And it is like you said, to bring it back to the idea of season 2 when we see them talking about high school, they definitely it is I feel like heavily insinuated that they'd already had a history,
Yep.
or even if it was
They might have just known each other,
Yeah.
been around vaguely.
and the fact just to know that connection
Mhm.
it just makes it 10 times better when they develop that relationship. All of season 3, it was pretty heartbreaking to see him get so excited, and then Joyce to kind of
Yeah.
flake on him, but she was doing it because she knew something was wrong. But Hopper was like, nothing's wrong. It's back to that idea of everyone doubted Joyce being like, they thought she was just
I
paranoid.
will say, like, the tension in season 3 as they're like walking through the woods with Alexei, exquisite.
Crazy.
Well done.
The line with
off,
Murray.
off the charts. Yeah, Murray.
That's another person that we want to talk about.
Oh,
So good.
Do we want to talk? Do we have more to talk about Hopper? Or do we want to talk about Murray now? I do feel like Hopper has had this very interesting character development from someone who's like sort of depressed and stuck in a rut to someone who used to be a father to someone who is now a father again, trying to figure out how that works, especially with a daughter that's been a lab experiment and has psychic abilities, which talk about being thrown in the deep end.
I think, and not to mention being stuck in a Russian prison for like a year.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
That's my thing is we haven't seen everyone else's reaction to him getting back yet. Like the town who's thought he's dead for a year. Like obviously everyone else thought he was dead, but we saw that reunion. But the fact that like his police friends, his secretary, all those people that knew him, they don't know he's alive. They thought he died in the fire.
I do wonder how they're gonna explain that. Maybe they'll be like, oh, he woke up and had amnesia.
Oh my gosh.
And he just remembered like a couple of weeks ago and came to find us. It's crazy.
And he lost a lot of weight because he was comatose for a while. I don't know.
Yeah, he got amnesia and was comatose, and a nearby town took him in.
Covered in scars and new shaved head.
Unrecognizable.
What?
And everyone's like, what? What's up with all the scars? Those are from the fire.
The fire.
Those don't look like burn scars. Yes, they are. How would you know?
Definitely not from a Russian base that you were trapped in.
No, definitely not from a Russian gulag. No.
That's what also blew my mind. The last thing about Hopper is after season 3 had come out, it was, I think, it was Valentine's Day that year. After it had come out that July, I think. And they came out with that clip.
Oh, of like the people working on the railroad?
Yeah, that was crazy because then it was another like 3 years until the season came out. Yeah. It was maybe more like 2, but I thought it was interesting that they leaked such an important thing.
That early, I know.
That early and so randomly with no other explanation.
I mean, I guess maybe it was because you said there is kind of the rule in Stranger Things where it's like, if you don't see them die like on screen, chances are they're coming back.
Yeah,
if
we
you
all
don't
have
see
theories.
an on-screen like physical actual death, chances are they're gonna be coming back. Which I didn't notice that until you mentioned it, and I was like, you know what? That's a very smart mechanic to have.
I just think it would have had a bit more of a punch if it was waited for until.
I know. Can you imagine how crazy everyone would have gone?
We would have waited 3.5 years, almost 4 years, to then all of a sudden, just see this happen in the show, and everyone would be like, "Oh my gosh! What the heck?" You know, it would have been crazy.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, like you said, obviously people had their theories, people had their suspicions. But it was the lack of confirmation that made it really interesting.
Yeah.
And then they confirmed it and it was like, oh, okay. I do agree with you. It might have packed a bit more of a punch.
Yeah. Fun thing, I didn't show my mom that video purposely, so she hasn't gotten to the point in season 4 where she sees that Hopper's still alive. So she's gonna get to experience that.
She's gonna get to experience it the way that it should have.
Yeah.
That's good.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. Your mom is gonna have so much to catch up on for this show.
Oh, she is.
When she's
so
done.
much.
Yeah, but it was interesting. It was interesting.
It's gonna be crazy.
Anyway, let's move on now because I think we've said everything we have to say about Hopper. Interesting. Oh, I was gonna say one more thing. I think he has dog tags in one of the episodes, and I think it might be implied that he fought in Vietnam. Either that
makes sense,
or there's someone else's. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. I'm gonna have to look that up. That is not concrete fact. Anyway,
I could see that. In either
it would
situation.
line up with the it would line up with the timeline.
It would.
It would line up with the timeline.
And his
Vietnam
age.
ended in 75.
Yeah.
Started in like the 60s.
Because he would have been like
a teenager.
And
which
that
was
would make
most
sense.
of the people that fought in Vietnam.
Yeah, that would make sense. I could see it. It could also explain why he's kind of hardened the way he is.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a deep set trauma
Yeah.
that could also be impacting everything, along with all the other trauma he's experienced. This man needs therapy.
This man does
Goodness
need therapy.
gracious.
This man definitely does.
Anyway, let's talk about Murray.
Which is why Murray's there.
Yeah, that's why Murray's there.
Love
I feel
Murray.
like Murray probably would. What was I gonna say? Murray would be the kind of guy that'd be like, yeah, I go to therapy, just completely, unabashedly, even in the 80s at a time when it was like less common, especially for like a dude.
Yeah,
he would just be like, because
sure.
he's just like that. He doesn't care.
He doesn't.
Does not care
He's
about
his
what
own
anyone
person.
else thinks, which I feel like kind of comes with the territory with him being sort of like a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah,
it comes with the territory, but still, I respect it a lot.
I love his bunker apartment.
That's such a fun bunker.
It's such a vibe. It's very Murray. Actually, I was thinking about this in the sense of like Murray's character and how we got to know him. I'm pretty sure we actually see him or hear a mention of him in season 1.
Yeah, because I think we see
I think we've talked about it before.
season
but
2 was when he was more introduced because that's when the Barb's parents mentioned hiring him as an
Mhm.
investigator, and he goes into Hopper's office and like
Mhm.
is talking about, oh yeah, a little Russian girl,
Yeah.
and Hopper's like, no way, you're
Yeah.
crazy.
But so he has been in there from the beginning.
Yes.
He's been implying he knows more. And I love that he knew like he had conspiracies about how Barb died
Mm-hmm.
and didn't fully know all this.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that when Jonathan and Nancy came and told him everything, it was far beyond what he ever could have imagined.
Yeah, because I mean, who can blame him? He was thinking more like government conspiracy,
Yeah.
more along the lines of, oh, like, the Russians or like
Yeah.
maybe the CIA or something. And honestly, I wouldn't blame him. I don't think I think I would probably jump to it's some sort of government conspiracy first, rather than so these other dimensional beings and
Yeah.
this rift in space time.
In the space-time continuum.
This rift in the space time continuum.
Exactly. It was crazy. And I think
Mhm.
it definitely did have something to do with the military. He was onto it in
Yep.
that sense, but it
Yep.
wasn't the way he thought
Yep.
it was. And I like the whole scene when Nancy and Murray are talking and they find a way to the metaphor for watering it down.
Yes,
That's
with the
really
vodka.
fun. It's
That's
really
so fun.
The water and the vodka. It was
That's so fun.
really smart, or tonic. It was tonic.
Yes, it was very well done.
It was. It really encapsulated it, and then they successfully got the lab shut down with
Yep.
that.
And then the scene where like he's sitting in the chair waving at the army personnel, it gets me
He's
every
just like-
time. It's so good.
I love that.
It's so good.
It's great.
Also, I love all the random skills he has.
I know.
Dude can like make drinks. He can cook with his funny
Yeah.
little apron in season 4. He can do karate.
He can speak Russian.
He can speak Russian. I feel like they could tell us anything about Murray,
Yeah.
and we'd be like, okay, yeah. It'd be like, by the way, Murray knows how to operate a submarine. We'd be like, all right, yeah. Why not?
Okay. Sounds about right.
Why not at this point? You know,
Exactly. I love his character. I love his and Joyce's friendship in season 4.
it's so
It's
funny.
something, we didn't really see, but they both have that shared trauma, like
Yep.
they all do. And the fact that he just shows up to the house and the kids don't even question it. He's just there. He's like,
He's
"Oh,
just
hey,
there.
kids."
He's like the fun conspiracy uncle. That
He
visits.
is.
He's like the crazy uncle of the
Yeah.
family.
And then him and Joyce just say, "We're going on a business trip." And they just go off to Russia.
We're going on a business, which honestly, it's still so funny to me how they managed to get away with that and no one knew.
Yeah.
They're gonna have one heck of a time explaining that.
Oh, yeah. The fact I still can't get over the fact that they literally went all the way to Russia
I
and that their story takes place mostly in Russia for season 4
Yeah.
because that's crazy.
It is
I wasn't
crazy.
expecting that at all. Like,
especially
season
during
3
the Cold War.
yes,
In
exactly.
the 80s.
They literally broke
Insane.
into a high security Russian prison and basically had a mini battle in there and then got out. Oh, a middle-aged mom,
Yeah.
a conspiracy theorist, and an ex-chief of police.
I mean, okay, honestly, listen, if there's anyone that would get it done, it would be Joyce and Murray. It would be Joyce and Murray. Between the two of them, they got iron willpower. Nerves of steel.
Oh yeah, they're hardened. They're hardened to the core,
Oh yeah,
and they're determined.
exactly.
I love their friendship.
It's just
I love everything
so
about
funny
all
to
the
me.
characters. I can't. Every time I think about it,
they are all really well done, and
They are.
they're all so well rounded and distinct.
They
They're
are.
not kind of like a little 2-dimensional like actual 80s movie characters
Yeah.
can be sometimes.
And that's why I like them so much. That is why I love shows shows and media like this that the people who created the creators sat down and were
Mhm.
probably had these characters as like OCs or just ideas
yeah.
for so long and developed them so much because there's no way they just started the show and then just
Oh, yeah.
decided how it was going to end. They knew how it was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
They probably
Mhm.
knew the premise of how they wanted the show to end since the beginning.
Yep.
And that's how it works so well.
Yeah, and I think there's pros and cons to both that kind of story building and also to like, sort of figuring stuff out as you go
Mhm.
along. But I know for me personally, I do like to have a general idea of where things are going. I might
Yeah.
not know things exactly, but I'm like, okay, I want this to happen, I want this to happen, I want these to be the main
That's how I
themes,
go.
main things going on. And sometimes I do know exactly what I want to do from the start all
Mhm.
the way through. And when that happens, It's great.
Yeah.
It's such a blast, but not all the time.
I usually have more when I'm writing or creating a character. It's more of this is the general idea I want, and this is a specific thing I want to have happen to them.
Yeah.
That's like a main premise of it, and then I kind of loop it back to
Yep.
everything
Yep.
else.
I think that's a
So.
good way to do it. That is a good way to do it. But yeah, I feel like Stranger Things is just one of those shows, rock solid world building.
Oh, for
Rock
sure.
solid.
It's a great setting.
No really plot holes.
No?
No plot holes that I can think of, at least. No huge glaring ones, and the ones that might have been plot holes resolved.
Yeah, they brought it back, and it was there.
They
for
looped
a
it back
reason.
around. And it was like, you thought it was a plot hole, but you see it it was a plot device.
Exactly.
You just had to wait.
You had to wait and see, guys. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
You had to wait and see.
Yeah. I
Oh,
just
love.
It's so good. It is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's on a different level. I mean, I know it's one of like the hugest popular shows of our generation, and I feel like people can be like, "Oh, it's overrated." I mean, maybe it might be, but it's also just good. It's also just good. I
That's
feel
what I'm
like
saying.
it's also just pretty well done.
Yeah, I was talking. So I have a friend in some of my classes that I met this semester, but we've gotten pretty close because we have 2 classes on the same day together.
Wow.
And we were talking about it, and I mentioned Stranger Things, and he looked at me and said he had never watched it. And I said, "How could you not have watched this?" And he said, I can't remember what he said. He just said he'd never gotten around to it or something.
No,
And
okay,
it's
I
not
do
that
that
he's not
too.
interested.
I do that too.
But I was like, it's one of those shows that I feel like everyone has seen and or knows
Or at
of.
least know about.
Yeah, and I was kind of surprised, and I think he kind of had the same mentality of maybe it's kind of overrated, and I was like, you don't understand this. It's good though. It's not that it's just popular because everyone knows about it. It's good. It doesn't have plot holes. It makes sense. Like I'm gonna get a bit controversial here.
Okay.
But a show like Outer Banks that everyone hypes up, it's not good though.
I've never seen Outer Banks.
The first season, I think as a standalone season, if they had brought it all around and ended it there, could have been good. But then they went deeper with the lore, and I just personally fell off of it after season 2. And the reason it got so popular is because it came out when COVID started. Is when the first release was. It was in April that year.
Yeah. Oh, so no one else had anything else to do.
Exactly. So it was so popular.
Elevated.
But it had certain plot holes where it was kind of like, later on in the series, or stuff that just didn't feel as realistic, and it just got so big. But Stranger Things does it in a way where it makes sense, and it gets so big because it is supernatural and there's all this other stuff going on. It's just done well, and all the characters, including the adults, not just the kids, are so well rounded.
And it feels very grounded in reality too.
Yeah.
Like you've got all this crazy interdimensional stuff going on, but you've also got, teenagers being teenagers, going to the mall, playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Exactly.
Dustin goes and
it has the
sets
realistic
up a
elements.
Satellite to talk to his girlfriend.
I love that.
Not a satellite, a radio tower.
I love Dustin.
I know.
He's just a guy.
Yeah. Okay, what else do we have on the list? Let's take a look.
I think we could talk about Alexei because we just talked about Murray.
Oh, Alexei, that would be perfect. Gone too soon.
Gone too soon.
He was
so pure. So pure.
He was honestly just a silly guy.
He was.
Just a silly guy. And then the Terminator had to go and knock him. Off.
That scene was so absolutely devastating.
It was so sad.
Which actually, not a plot hole, but one thing that my mom pointed out while watching when that scene happened, she said it was unrealistic that no one noticed. Only because even with a guard like that, it makes some noise. It's just muffled differently, so it's not completely silent. And the fact that happened, but then someone probably would have seen, because in such a crowded space, someone, at least one person out there, sees something like that.
I was gonna say, and it's like a loud, crowded space, so people might not have heard. But at the same time, if you're right next to someone, you're still gonna hear that.
Yeah,
and
all of a sudden,
that is not very realistic. I will admit that.
Yeah,
but to be fair,
it was done so well.
Mr. Terminator also wasn't very realistic.
Yeah, no, he definitely was based off the Terminator.
Oh, he was absolutely Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh yeah, reference. But it just, that scene, it did break my heart when that happened.
Yeah.
It was just, he was so pure. The pictures of Alexei with his little slushy, his Slurpee.
He was just.
I love him.
He was just chilling, and Murray was so happy to have a friend.
I know.
Murray was
I think
so happy to have a friend
because they related on so many levels about things, and I think they're both considered, kind of the weirder characters, or the ones that people like have around for that reason. When something like this happens, because they have the knowledge of it. But again, they don't really have those people other
Mhm.
than that. I think their friendship would have been great if they had gotten to
I know.
see further than season 3.
I know. I understand why they had to do it though, because
Yeah.
that was a loose, like kind of like Eddie. That would have been a loose end that would have
Mm-hmm.
been very hard to tie up in like a realistic way. Because eventually people would be like, "Hey, why is this guy just speaking Russian, Murray?
Yeah.
What would Murray say? Oh, he's my cousin. He's Russian, but he's not one of the evil ones. Haha.
Haha.
Because it's the 80s.
Haha. He
Yeah.
could have lived in his bunker with him.
Yeah, but I imagine if he had been alive, it kind of would have been like Elle in the way that, they would have had to keep him secret. He couldn't really leave, and that would drive anyone crazy after long enough. That would drive anyone crazy.
We all saw it during COVID. It drove us all crazy. Who do you want to talk about?
I don't know. I was gonna say there's not much more to say about Alexei. He was present for a couple episodes.
Yeah.
I don't. You know what? I want to talk about Miss Wheeler. I want
Miss
to talk about Miss
Wheeler.
Wheeler. Karen
Amazing.
Wheeler.
I want her to
Mike's
get so
mom.
much more involved in season 5. I hope we see more of her being like a Joyce.
And that's
Dad-be
what
mom.
people were saying in season 4 because she was like staring out the window.
Mhm.
Because and again, season 4 is when all the parents are starting to try sort of catch on to things more. Which we were talking about realistic things earlier. My parents have said it was not realistic that like these kids would be gone for like days at a time with no contact. And the parents were like, "Oh, it's fine.
It's fine. I just haven't
It's
seen them in like 5 days. It's
Yeah,
okay.
it's okay.
It's spring break. They're just having
No.
fun.
Yeah. But
The only plausible time that would make sense
Mhm.
was in season 4 when Mike was in California because
Yes.
Joyce and Murray left.
Yeah.
And her mom, his mom, Mrs.
She was like,
Wheeler,
"Oh, it's with she's
yeah,
he's with the buyers."
She's
it's
just
fine."
he's in California.
Meanwhile,
it's
the
fine.
SWAT team is like
Yeah,
knocking
that
on
was
the-
crazy.
Was like, what is it? What's I can't is like
knocking down the door.
yeah, knocking down the door.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah, but Miss Wheeler is such an interesting character.
She
She's been
is.
so closely related with any of this, and it seems like she doesn't know anything. But I'm thinking maybe she knows a little more than she lets on.
Yeah.
She has experienced weird stuff.
She's
I want to talk
observant.
about. I do want to talk about season 3 though, where she
Okay.
almost has the affair with Billy.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, girl, I know you're unhappy in your marriage and your husband is kind of a deadbeat. The solution is not to go on a date with a high schooler. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm
And
sorry,
he's
girl.
not even a good guy.
He's not a good guy.
Like,
But he has this
no.
high level of like charisma.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think.
He's
no
very
one is safe from.
charming in a
He's
sense
very
of he puts on a facade.
It's on a facade.
And he had that facade and all
Yeah.
the moms were into him.
And all the moms are like, wow.
Wow, he's so mature
Yeah,
for his
and
age.
then I think of how funny it was. I wonder what everyone thought when he walks into his lifeguarding job, like bags under the eyes, sweaty, pale, wearing a t-shirt. They're like,
that is
what
so
happened to you?
so unlike
What
him.
happened?
He flaunted that body
Yeah, he did.
when he had the chance to.
He did.
And he flirted with all the moms. And
Mhm.
now he did not care. He didn't give them a second glance.
Yep.
Oh, that episode,
Yep.
that got me too. I know I keep saying that, but so many things in Stranger Things got me where I just wasn't expecting it.
Yep.
Or it was like, kind of a plot twist or something like that. But
Uh-huh.
when he was driving and he got pulled like in the
Oh,
accident,
Yes.
that was
so
crazy.
Cool. That was so cool. Listen, I love season 3 for so many reasons.
So good.
One of them being I love a good hive mind. I love
Real.
a good hive mind.
Yeah.
I'd be such a good hive mind member. You guys don't even know. You guys
Shelby
don't
would.
even know.
I can vouch. I can
I
see
would be
it.
such a good hive mind participant.
see it.
Oh my god. That'd be so fun. Anyway. I don't think I'd want to be a part of the Stranger Things hive mind because they did turn to goop at the end.
Yeah, I know.
They did kind of explode and turn into goop. Which
did.
I don't want to do that. I like being a
Yeah.
like living person that isn't goop.
I think that was the most freaked out by a monster in Stranger Things that I had gotten just because
Yep.
it was so
It's visceral.
it was
It's
so visual
visceral.
and it was so graphic that it just
Yep. It's like you're like, oh, I didn't even know that's a thing that could happen.
yeah, no, that's physically I'd never wanted to picture that
Yeah.
happening to anyone.
Yeah.
But
I
it's
think
fine.
I like the goop monster was really neat. Though.
It was very unique.
The
Never before
creature-
seen.
The creature design in Stranger Things, top tier.
Oh, amazing. The
Top tier.
CGI,
Incredible.
so good. So
love it.
good.
I love it. And then I did love how they sort of went back to practical effects for Vecna.
hmm
I love me some good practical effects.
Have you
I
seen
love
the
them.
time lapse videos of them doing his makeup?
I think, yeah.
So good. It's so interesting.
Amazing.
I love watching
it's
practical
such-
effects like that.
It's a physically taxing process for
Yeah.
both the people doing it and the person wearing it. But it's undeniable that the result it produces is just so unique and distinct from
Mhm.
CGI. And again, I would say if I was an actor too, there's something about being on like a physical set and seeing and having like these practical effects that are real and exist in real life. Because I know people always joke, but people always joke about like Marvel movie actors. They can only read bits of a script at a time, and they're like they go into an empty room and pretend like crawl around for a couple of
Yeah.
hours. If I was an actor, I could not do that.
Me
I
either.
could not just be in this empty space. They're like, okay, we're gonna CGI all this in later. Just pretend it's there. No, I couldn't do that. Give me a giant puppet. I want a giant puppet.
Give me
I want gallons of
some
fake
sort
blood.
of dummy, some sort of
Yeah.
something to talk to or act like in the Avatar movies.
Mhm.
Have you seen the behind the scenes?
They had like the sticks on
Yeah.
their head with the
And,
faces, so
and
they
they
knew where to
still
look.
they still have all like that, and it gives more of that,
Yeah.
more for them to go off of, which I think is
Yeah.
interesting, to at least give them something
Yeah.
to work with and not just be so random. But
Yeah, and I'm not trying to diss CGI. I think it's
Oh,
an
yeah.
incredible tool, and that we can do things in movies that we would not be able to do otherwise.
mhm.
But at the same time, I miss the like the heyday in the 80s
Yeah.
of practical effects, where it was like right before computer animation got big, where like the puppetry and a lot of the practical effects got really good. Depending on what movie you're watching, take that with a grain
Yeah.
of salt.
I think it's
just-
really cool to
incredible.
incorporate the two of them.
Yes.
It just makes such a well-rounded piece at the
Yes.
end.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why
Exactly.
this Vecna and Stranger Things and stuff
Mhm.
turned out so well, and is so much easier, especially in the scenes with Vecna and Max.
Oh yeah.
That was so cool.
Yeah, because I mean that would make it feel realer.
Yeah.
If there's this actual guy like in full body makeup and costume that looks like a
Yeah, like when they
little
filmed,
creature.
I didn't like it, but when they filmed the It movie, it was
Oh,
like
yeah.
very much, he had the costume, they had the set, everything. It was pretty much all,
Oh yeah.
that kind
I
of.
haven't seen it, but I probably should. I've heard it's really good. I've heard it's good. You're making a face. I'm guessing it's scary.
I did
Are
not
there a
like
lot
it.
of jump scares? Jump scares put me on edge. See, the problem is
One is too many for me, so.
See, the problem is I'm like, oh, I hate jump scares. I prefer psychological horror, and then I watch like The Haunting of Bly Manor,
Mhm.
and I get immensely paranoid.
Happens.
There's no winning. There's no winning for me. I do love See, this is why I like comedy horror.
Yes.
I like a little bit of both.
That's
it's a nice
what
balance.
I've started to find, because when I was younger, I thought horror
Mhm.
was just strictly one genre. But
Yep.
then after taking my writing classes, I've realized that horror can be so many different things.
Yep.
And I've started to find the genre of horror I do like, and I am starting to dabble into it,
Mhm.
which I'm liking, the comedy horror
Oh,
or
yeah.
the very the older horror.
Oh yes.
That
Do you want a really good? Sorry.
No, you're good. Go.
If you want a really good older horror movie, I recommend The House on Haunted Hill with
Mhm.
Vincent Price. It's in black and white.
Oh.
I call it an unintentional comedy. It has some genuinely pretty good ghost practical effects. And it also has the funniest like little skeleton being puppeted around you've ever seen and a plot
Yeah.
important pit of acid. This is how I advertise this movie to everyone. Because you should watch it. It's silly, goofy.
I will.
Anyway.
But I'll watch it with you.
Oh my god, we have to add that to the list. We have to add it to
We
our
do.
movie watch list. We have so many movies
We just need to we just need to make a movie day where we
We
sit
do.
down and just watch 3 movies.
We do. I was gonna say, and also if you like horror, if you like some more slasher horror, Pearl. I must recommend Pearl.
I haven't heard that
It's
one.
so good. Technically, it's a prequel to the movie X by A24, but it's set in the 1918 flu pandemic, World War I. Pearl is sort of secluded on a farm with her sort of overbearing mother and her father, who's paralyzed in a chair because of the Spanish flu pandemic. And I could say so much more about it, but we're getting up on our time limit, so I
We
won't.
are.
I'll talk to you a little more after this is
Okay.
done.
I'm sorry. I'm not
'Cause
trying to
it's
cut you
so
off.
good. No. Yeah. I didn't want to get into it because if I get too into it, I'll just keep talking and talking, and then I would feel bad because the person that has
Happens.
the show right after us would be
Yeah.
like scrambling.
That's okay.
All right. So today's episode was a little all over the place, but I
Yeah.
still feel like we stuck to the main tenements and then
Yeah, we did.
branched off
did.
of it.
Honorary mention to Mr. Clarke that we didn't get
Honorary
around
mention
to,
Mr. Clarke.
but
We didn't get around to, but incredible
incredible character.
Incredible.
He introduces us to the
Yeah.
upside down theory.
to the concept of the upside down
Yeah.
in a very cohesive way. He coins the term.
He does.
He coins the term. And
Yes.
I would also like to shout out the skull with flaming eyes that Lee has drawn on our notes,
Who dares enter?
which is wonderful. Which we should put it on the thumbnail. We should put it. On
Oh,
the
that'd be
thumbnail.
cool.
It would be so.
That'd be cool. I'll edit it out.
Yes.
I'll screenshot it and then
It would be perfect.
do my little thing.
That would be perfect. All right. Well, this has been Peculiar Happenings. I'm Shelby,
And I'm Lee.
and I think our tagline is "Stay weird." From what I
Yes.
remember. So
Stay weird, people.
yeah. Bye.
Bye.